And good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm delighted to see that there is quite an interesting audience and diverse, and very much in line with our theme of this event in terms of equal opportunities. So what I'm going to do in this short kind of discussion, I'll talk about the digitalization within the context of sustainability, but also focusing more towards the inclusivity area, right? But one of the things that you might be familiar with this term of inclusive growth. So the agenda, bit of background, digitalization, challenges, opportunities, digital inclusion, and then the concluding remarks that I would have kind of my thoughts on it. I have over 20 years of experience in the area of ops and supply chain. I've led various improvement initiatives across different sectors. My background is heavy in automotive industry, but I've worked in a lot of other areas. Manufacturing startups, deployed several technological innovations in companies, and actively I research lean industry 4.0, development of sustainable goals, resilience in supply chains, and so on. So I was just thinking about digitalization, right? And one of the things that struck me when I looked at the government website, for example, here in Bahrain, about the digitalization was the digitalization strategy, right? And it's interesting because all governments across the world, they're focusing on digitalization and it's becoming a key element, right? But for me, what actually really impressed me when I looked at the Bahrainian government website was the focus on inclusive growth, right? And I'm going to highlight just one line that kind of stuck with me. Leave no one behind. Yeah, I mean, that to me is a really nice way of saying equal opportunities, inclusive growth, and so on. Yeah, so keep that in your head as we go through. Leave no one behind. And when I refer to no one, I'm not talking about just us people, but I'm talking also for businesses, because a lot of time the focus is on the big corporations, on the large MNCs, and there is not enough focus on small, medium enterprises, right? And the SMEs require equal attention in terms of development and focus. So digitalization, right? Or you think now in terms of the industry 4.0 or maybe even further industry 5.0, right? If you go back, not that far, you're talking about 12, 13 years ago, 2011, industry 4.0 was not existent, right? Nobody knew what I 4.0 was. They were talking about industry technology, the advancements, and so on. And then from Germany, they started with industry 4.0. Now, look at this, roll forward 8 years. In 2019, 2 in 3 executives regarded as a top strategic priority. So that means digitalization is starting to become really important, right? It builds obviously on the advancements of industry 1, 2, 3, and so on. And it's mainly focusing on this technology adoption. Now, what is interesting is that industries are changing, right? And you probably recognize these guys from here, right? You look at it and you see Netflix, Airbnb, Alibaba, Uber. Yeah, they completely transformed industries through digitalization, right? Do you remember ghost posters, right? Movies and so on. Normally you would go and rent them. They're gone, right? DVD rentals, forgot about it, right? Hotels are being threatened by Airbnb. Airbnb is the largest provider of accommodation in the world without owning any of the actual accommodation units. Amazing, isn't it? Uber, the largest provider of taxi service in the world without actually owning the cars. Something that nobody even was able to understand. How would you move these business models? So the business models are changing, right? There's another company there that you might not be familiar, Li Feng. I would say you might not even think, but this company is one of the top 10 most influential companies in the world. Li Feng is behind supply chains across the globe. Digitalization, key for them. That's how they progress. That's how they become one of the most powerful companies, right? So what's digitalization impacting us, right? One of the things is the skills. The skill requirement is shifting. If in the past, so you're looking there and see, not that far, 2016, right? If you look at the skills in US and Western Europe by category of percentage time spent, a lot of it was physical manual labor, right? So you can see there 48%, right? Focusing then on some of the cognition related skills, so basic, higher, social, emotional, and technological. But what I want to see is look at what we are looking now in terms of the shift changing, right? We are now transferring ourselves from a physical and manual type environment towards more cognitive, right? And especially at a higher level, plus the digital element. So if you are wondering, what should I focus in the future? Definitely embrace technology and higher cognitive areas, because that's where it's shifting. This is where it's moving, and industries are being affected by these shifts, right? So you can see nowadays we are pretty much connected to a mobile device, every one of us, yeah? And I was talking to people actually over the last couple of days, and somebody made a remark, I cannot stay without my phone 1 hour. Is that correct? Yeah. So that means that we are digitally pretty much connected every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So where are the areas of value potential through digitalization, right? So you can see it here. If we're looking at data computational power, connectivity, human machine interaction, this is becoming really big. Automotive industry is transformed every day primarily through this human interaction, right? Because they don't want to completely replace. I mean, wherever you can replace fully the human labor through digitalization. But a lot of it is still require interaction. So now you have robots working with humans to actually produce goods. And this is the focus of a lot of the industries moving towards that. Analytics and intelligence. Some of the presentations yesterday, they focused on AI, right? And then you're moving even more towards advanced production methods. So now you can 3D print houses. You can 3D print everything you want pretty much, right? So instead of using the traditional methods, things are being revolutionized, changed completely, right? So you can see there the value potential underneath, we're moving towards improving cost through inventory reduction, labor productivity is being pushed, machine downtime is being reduced, throughput increase, cost of quality is being reduced, so you have improvements, forecasting, and so on. So you're looking at all industries are being now supported through digitalization. Yeah. So there is no way you can go towards an industry without digitalization itself. However, we talk about digitalization. Is it easy? Does it work? So if you're thinking in terms of the challenges, digital transformations are very, very difficult. And especially they are difficult to scale up. You see initiatives which they are being deployed into companies, but when it comes to the actual scaling them up, companies actually struggle very, very much, right? The pressure to succeed is really intense, really, really intense. So let's see some interesting statistics that you might be actually shocked to see them. If you're looking at McKinsey's 2022 report, 30% of digitalization initiatives have achieved or exceeded the expected benefits. So only 1 in 3. What are the other ones? Failing. They fail. Boston Consulting Group, 70% of companies surveyed have failed to reach full implementation of digitalization initiatives. Again, not a success story, right? PwC, 2019, only 10% of the respondents reported that their digital initiatives have actually achieved or exceeded the expectations in terms of cost savings. 33% reported that the actual initiatives have fallen short of what they expected. So again, companies want to become digital, they're not succeeding. Yeah. Capgemini, last year, 46% of the companies cited that lack of expertise and talent as a major challenge in their digitalization initiatives, and also 44% lacked the actual business case and value proposition. Yeah. So what you see here doesn't paint a pretty picture, does it? Digitalization initiatives, you can buy, by the way, technology. A lot of companies have the capital to invest in technology, but technology itself is not the answer, because what happens is it fails to be implemented properly, right? And you probably have seen it. If you work with companies, you will see that they have maybe the latest machines or the latest technology in place, and they always come with this, we just bought this and we don't really know how to fully use it. And it's quite common. It is quite common to see that. So digitalization comes with warning signs, right? So then we have to be prepared to say, right, why does it fail? I've been involved in research in digital transformations in Ireland and also within other countries in Europe, US, China, and so on. And what we found was this: lack of clear strategy. So you have the top management who does not really see the end position. And it's challenging to see that, yeah? But you need to have a strategy. You need to see where you want to go with digitalization. Resistance to change, yeah? I bet everyone here in this room at some point had the thought of fear when you heard AI, because you wonder, are they going to replace me? Are they going to replace my job? Will I still be needed? Automation will replace us. When it comes to manual labor, forget about it, it's gone, right? So now technology is moving towards not just manual labor, is moving to actual cognitive labor, the one where we start thinking. So that is being also challenged. And you've seen yesterday discussions, and you will see today more of them, right? Data quality issues. A lot of companies buy these super tech type software to analyze data and so on, but the data that they have, it is absolutely not usable. So the data itself, quality of it is not good because they didn't collect it in the way. Integration issue. So they have legacy systems, they have their own systems in place, and then they bring in these new systems and they cannot integrate them. Big challenge, big challenge. If you ever worked, I remember maybe 20 years ago, maybe more, I was working in automotive industry and we used to work with software like AS400, right? Where we used to type manually commands and so on. And then SAP came in, SAP, yeah, came in with new software. We couldn't integrate them. It was a big challenge, yeah. And the last one is over-reliance on technology. Remember, technology will not solve all your issues. Remember that. So from a company perspective, what you have to do is you have to understand your digital ambition. You don't need to be fully digitalized, but you need to know how much are you going to go for optimization and how much you're going to transform the business. Because by the way, I've seen it in automotive industry in Volvo, right? And I'm talking 2007, 2008. So this is something like, yeah, 15, 16 years ago. They were introducing robots on their production lines in order to push their productivity. And you know what happened? Their productivity actually went down for the next nearly 2 years because they had huge issues with integration of the actual technology into the production systems. Took them a long time to learn, right? And the thing it is they're becoming more and more complex. So you have to bear in mind the optimization of the digital business plus then the transformation itself. Yeah. And what I don't have there, right, which I didn't put it specifically, is the actual people themselves, right? And you have to remember, because somebody has to be there to work with the technology too. So this brings me to the part where, right, We're moving towards digitalization, but digital inclusion. And this is one of the things is that this term is relatively novel. And when it comes to this conference, I'm delighted to see this theme of equal opportunities, because digital inclusion means ensuring that all individuals, regarding of their background circumstances, have access to and can effectively use digital technologies. You probably noticed a big change, for example, with the children nowadays. If you give a child a mobile phone, you'll see them, they start doing this. Yeah? If you give them any sort of a screen, you see them doing this on the screen. Yeah? I bet you when you were born, you weren't doing that. Huh? That's a digital transformation that already next generations are coming with that pretty much built in, right? So they will be completely different looking at technology the way we are looking at, right? But we still need to make sure that everybody can use the technology, that everybody has access to technology, right? Because what happens is you're going to end up with a disparity between people with technology and people without technology. So that means what we are talking about equal opportunities, they will be very, very unequal, right? And when it comes to the discussion with the AI, by the way, you will be looking to see people who have the use of AI and people who don't have the use of AI. A lot of governments around the world, they are talking about the AI, and they're not really afraid about the AI itself. They're worried about the governments that use AI and the ones that don't have access to AI. So imagine the disparity between those countries. They will be even larger, right? So technology itself, you have to recognize this digital inclusion, and businesses themselves also have to recognize that there are market segments in the actual business within that they operate that they have to be aware of it, right? And there are segments that are untapped. So for them, even more opportunities, right? So how can we do this? Like one of the things is accessibility features, right? People with visual impairments, people with different levels of impairments, right? How do they get access to education? Technology now is enabling them hugely, right? People from disadvantaged areas, people from locations that do not have access to, let's say, universities, now they can go online and educate. And this is amazing when you think like that, right? So I know COVID hasn't been a positive experience, but COVID has actually accelerated digital transformation hugely, has pushed us more than anything in the last, I would say, 20, 30 years. So there is a positive with COVID, digital transformation, right? Training and education, empowering digital literacy. And that's one of the things I've seen on the government website here, that digital literacy was on their agenda a lot. So that's an important element, right? Affordable. Another thing it is, you have to have affordable access to this type of technologies, right? It's becoming cheaper and cheaper. The fact that everybody here in this room owns a mobile phone already with access to internet, it's already a testament of the fact that low access technologies are coming into play, right? Community technology hubs. And then obviously, if you are talking about digital inclusion, it has to be measured. If you don't measure it, you don't improve, right? Because that's what companies do. Companies are improving on what they're being measured. So therefore, from a company perspective, you have to introduce measurements that look at digital inclusion. So how can we succeed in that, right? So we've seen why they fail. We've seen digital inclusion as being a big factor. So how can we succeed? Obviously, start thinking about digitalization strategy. Develop a roadmap for digitalization, right? So you know where you have to go. You know your end goal, or at least you have an idea, right? Top management buy-in. No technology in the world is going to be implemented in any sort of environment if the top management is not going to be buying. And by the way, top management will be reluctant a lot of times. So you have to make a business case. You have to get support. You have to get them on board with that. Develop a culture of innovation and agility, right? I mean, get people to always want to innovate. Get people to always be responsive, be kind of novel and accepting, right? And there is a fear factor, by the way. When you bring in change, you will have fear. right? So one concept that in Ireland, I work with a lot of companies, and in there, we talk about psychological safety to make sure that you create an environment in which the actual employees feel safe to try new things. Invest in talent, right? Development and digital wellness programs. One of the things is you really have to grow the talent. We struggle, by the way. Ireland struggles with talent in the digital space. We don't have the knowledge. So we have to import it. We have to recruit a lot of times. So this is one of the things I would say in Bahrain is the same thing. You know, you'll have to develop. It's good to recruit it, but I would say always developing in-house too. That's how it lasts. If you look at the German economy, right? I mean, over the last 10 years, I did a lot of analysis on economic development in Germany. German development is focused a lot for in-house growth. Why? Because they own the skills. They always have them there, right? So there is a lot to say in the way they work and development of that. Focus on flexible work arrangements. Things are being different nowadays because the way people work are not the way they were working 20 years ago. Now we can have meetings online, we can do stuff online. So great transformation with that. Collaboration and partnership across supply chains. If you're looking at a company, you can't be digital just yourself. Everybody has to be digital there. And cybersecurity. Remember, this is a big issue, a big issue. So my concluding remarks for digitalization and the transformation towards inclusivity. Focus on value drivers. Think value backwards, not technology forward. Think about the value that you can get. Mobilize the organization, top management support to build a culture that fosters this, inclusive benefits and policies, and then develop the infrastructure to be able to grow. If you don't have the infrastructure, technology is not going to work by itself. So you need to have that. So to end, I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, next slide. Digitalization is not just progress. It's a path to inclusive growth. Together, let's ensure innovation uplifts us all, leaving no one behind in a journey towards a connected and equitable future. So again, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much, everybody.